Hey, welcome to Integrated Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I want to talk today about escaping the city when it collapses into chaos. I've heard some other people talk a little bit about it. I had a couple of things that I wanted to add, maybe to kind of give a different idea about. Uh, it is a beautiful fall day here, and Aiden and I are out putting up Christmas lights. Um, Some of you know, if you've heard before, one of my businesses is a specialty lighting business, and among that is Christmas lights. And so we're out here. I finally this is when I get to wear my favorite jacket. It's an old barn coat that I bought from Sears years and years ago. I think it cost me $50, and I love it. My kids tell me that I dress like I'm homeless, and and I think Hallie said, for those of you who know Hallie, I think she called us the other day when she saw it for the first time, my homeless jacket, because it's all frayed, but man, it is the most comfortable jacket that I've got. And any of you guys who wear barn coats know what I'm talking about. A couple of things that I'll say before I get into the meat of the subject today. First off, and people tell me I need to start saying this at the beginning of my videos instead of at the end. Putting a lot more stuff over on Patreon. Welcome to all of you who are joining over there on Patreon. I've had quite a surge here the last few weeks as I'm getting into more specifics of some of the more interesting things. Getting into some of my old undercover stories, some stories of the mob, some stories we'll be getting to about the IRA, and all of those things, and how they pertain to preparedness and survival. And there are some excellent real world, I don't deal a lot with the doodads and the goo guys, the equipment and stuff like that, because when it comes right down to it, like I put up yesterday, resourcefulness is going to beat resources when it comes right down to it. And not that resources aren't good, and everybody should have as many resources as they can, but your resourcefulness. I'm out here and it's cold and my mouth isn't working as well as it could. Let me take a drink of coffee here in a second. Your resourcefulness is the bedrock of what's going to get you through a difficult situation. And these groups and the stories that I'll be telling on that, these are extremely resourceful groups and stories that I'll be talking about. So anyway, oh, and my books, for those of you who have asked. So I put, I'm still not very good at this, so I will put the Patreon link down here. It's always down here, I think. For those of you who want to get into more specifics, here on YouTube, I'll be covering more generalities and more specifics over on Patreon for any of you who may be interested. Also, for those of you who want autographed copies of my books, there's an address, a P.O. box in the About section here on YouTube, and you can just send me, your request there. 15. They go, the paperback goes for $12.99 on Amazon for all of them, I think. If for those of you who prefer the Kindle, they're $5.99, I think. Anyway, if you want a that's my neighbor telling his dog to get back. You might hear a lawnmower around here or something like that. This is the suburbs, and these are the sounds that I like: lawnmowers and things like that. So if you want a paperback, a signed paperback, $15 will cover the cost of the book and the shipping and the postage and the taxes and everything like that. Just send it to me on that. At that P.O. box, and I'll get it to you signed however you want it to be signed, and thank you all for that. Okay, now, excuse me for just a second, I'm going to warm up my mouth. Nothing better on a cool day than coffee. Getting out of the city. I don't mean for good on this. I mean that if you are caught in the city during a collapse, a chaos situation, whatever, and that's something to be particularly concerned about as we approach this election. All sorts of things could happen. Probably not. I'm not going to get into the details of what could happen. Everybody, pretty much is aware of what could happen. Everybody has their own ideas, and everybody has pretty good ideas. So I want to discuss more about what you should think about, how you can prepare mentally and physically, resources and resourcefulness, and getting out of a city should you need to in a hurry. To back up a little bit and tell you a little bit about where I come from on this, for any of you who may be new and don't know much about me, I grew up in the city. Although my family moved to the suburbs, I lived, did a lot of my real developing in the city, the central part of the city. During the riots of 1968 here in Kansas City, I was a 14-year-old boy, and bounced around the streets. We were street guys. I learned a lot. There was a lot of lessons there on the streets, especially in a city during riots. That's really where my love of the city came from, and I do love the city. I know some people hate the city. I love the country too. I love the country. I love the suburbs. I do well in all of those situations, and but there is something about the city. There's an excitement, there's an energy, there is a vibrancy, there's a danger. There is a danger. There is always an underlying danger in the city because the city is a jungle. The jungle is full of predators, and it's just a matter of where you are on the food chain and how well you know how to handle it and deal with it that decides how well you're going to do. But I do love the city. It's an exciting place. I still am drawn sometimes to go down into the city. I fight the temptation because I try to be smarter now, but I am always prepared if I do. To continue that for just a moment. I was when I went on the police department, I was a city cop, and I mean the central city, not the place that we call the ghetto and they call the hood now. That's where I did my years in uniform. I was in undercover for years, and I worked the worst parts of the city as well as the best parts of the city. But I know the city from all sides. I know it from the good guy side. I know it from the bad guy side. And so I have an understanding that I think I can use to give you all some hints. Things can happen fast in the city, and that is one of the first things that people should understand. Things happen quickly, suddenly. Like I said, it is full of predators. Now you don't run across a predator every day if you're just down there now living your daily life in the city, but you can. And the police reports are full of people who do. And usually a victim can be characterized by a person who was in a situation or an environment that they didn't understand, weren't aware of, weren't ready for, and just kind of wandered through in the blissful ignorance that too many people do. So let's set a scenario and say for anybody who may be working in a city, say you're working downtown. And I'm thinking of a friend of mine now as a corporate lawyer. She works downtown. You work downtown in one of these high-rise buildings, and all of a sudden the election or something else, it could be the election, it could be social unrest, it could be an EMP, it could be any number of things. And all of a sudden something happens and the city around you starts to collapse. Okay, what do you do? First off, and maybe I should, I'll back up on that. I'll come back to that in a minute as to what you should have and maybe what you ought to throw in your car to kind of prepare for it for anybody who doesn't have a full-fledged JIC bag. JIC is what I call it, just in case. It's just a bag that's got everything in it that would let you either go or come or survive for an extended period of time until you get to a place to where you can settle down for a better deal. But say you don't have that. I'll talk a little bit about in a few minutes about what you might want to throw in extra in your car and a bag and such as that. First thing you do is think. Okay, all of a sudden you're in your 20th floor law office or your office, whatever it is. Doesn't matter what you are, you're down there. and you hear that either that the whole place is falling apart, the first thing you do is think. You don't want to immediately, don't go running around, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But there's going to be plenty of people then, and you're going to hear plenty of stories about what's happening, what everybody's concerns are about, what everybody's worries are. You're going to hear some people just going ballistic, the sky is falling, it's horrible, and you're going to have other people going, it's nothing, stop worrying about it, and calling those first people silly. Well, it's always best to assume the worst. You're rarely going to go wrong if you plan for the worst. You're often going to go wrong if you plan for the best, if everything's just going along hunky-dory and peachy, and you don't have to worry about it. Think about what may happen. All of a sudden, you may have a lot of people trying to leave the city all at once, okay, in a frantic way. I heard somebody on another channel the other day. I don't remember who it was, so I'm not targeting anybody on this. It was just something that I heard. Somebody said, park your car outside of the center of the city so that you can walk to it, so that you can get to it. And then because if your car gets stuck in the city, you're just going to be caught in traffic jams, and you're not going to be able to get out. I totally disagree with that. Okay, and I don't know if I do not know if this is a common thread or a common idea that people have, but take it for somebody who knows the heartbeat of the city. No. If you're the most dangerous thing that you're going to be doing is walking out of a city. Now, you're probably going to have to walk out of the city. Maybe not, but you might. In the case of an EMP, certainly you would have. In the case of social unrest, maybe not. Okay, so no, I would not put my car in a place there I had to walk anyways to get to it, because it's that walking that presents a great danger, and not just when the city starts to collapse, but on a daily basis. If you're putting your car outside the city and you're walking a good distance to get to your office or your job, well, you're walking through in most cases in cities, some pretty dodgy areas. And so you're putting yourself in danger every day, because that's how people get robbed. And especially if you're a person that looks like a suburbanite, and you can go all through this stuff about, well, wear your gray man and wear this and wear that. Well, the average person isn't going to do that every day. The idea that they would go down and wear a hoodie and jeans and some walking shoes, and then carry their suit or work clothes in a bag, and then change at work, and that's going to last about 2 days before you're sick of doing it. So you're just not going to do it. But it is that travel time, that walking time through areas that are not the best areas, that is going to present a danger to you, not just when it all collapses, but every day. And I would suggest you stay away from that. So park your car where you park it. Park it down, in the parking lot, the covered parking lot, if that's where you work, in a building down there. Just park it so it's handy to you, because it might be the case that you might be able to use it. Okay. A lot of times getting out in time is the secret to survival. So, to the extent that you're tuned in to what things are going on, you say, okay, the election went a certain way, and pow, 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 there's starting to be a little social discontent over here a half a mile away. That's the time to tell your boss, hey, boss, I'm going to finish this up at home or whatever, and I'm out of here. And I'll let you know, we'll see how tomorrow goes, but I'm headed home right now. And then you just go down to your car. The whole city is not going to be, attuned that much. So you're not going to get caught in traffic jams. Just get in your car and go home. Okay. Now, understanding you should know the safest way to go home. You should also know alternate ways to go home. This is pretty simple stuff. I'm not talking about anything here I invented. but get in your car and skedaddle. Get home. And once you get out in the suburbs, you're going to be in pretty good shape. And then you will watch, after that. Now, what happens if it turns out that right around your building, if it has collapsed, and we can use either the social collapse, the social, discontent, the rioting, or an EMP. Okay, that's when you start thinking about it. Think first, act later. Now, sometimes they'll say, and there's an old saying, a good plan executed, immediately and with some force beats the heck out of a perfect plan done later. There's a lot of truth to that. But you don't just rush into something or rush out of something, okay? Have an understanding, be able to make good judgments on, quickly, understand what's going on around you. If all of a sudden it looks like you're not going to be able to get your car out, then leave it there. And I'll say something about that too. I've heard people say, well, I back into a parking place so that I can get out easily. Well, have you ever watched Demolition Derby? Now, I don't know how many of you have gone through, driving courses of, specialized driving courses. I had the opportunity to go through a number of specialized government driving courses. Have you ever watched a Demolition Derby? Have you ever noticed that they all drive backwards, and they're trying to drive backwards and run into the other cars with their rear ends, right, with their trunks. Now, why do they do that? Because if they run into something with their front end, you got a lot of stuff up in the front end of your car that's very important to make your car run, right? You got the radiator, you got the all the belts, all the time, everything that makes your car go, for the most part, except the gas tank, is up front. You don't want to be running into things with your front end. So when people say, well, I back into a parking place so that if somebody's trying to block me in, I can just, head right out of there. No, just pull into the parking place the way you normally do, because if you're trying to get out of a parking place and somebody's trying to block in, it's better to hit them with your tail end than your front end. Okay. Anyway, that's just a little aside that I've heard a lot, so I thought I'd throw that in. Okay, so now you're thinking, okay, it's exploding around me. The world is exploding around me. What do I do? Well, if it looks like it's dangerous for you to get out of your office right then don't get out of your office. Stay in your office. Now, hopefully you've got a gun with you, and hopefully you've got a bag with you with some things that can sustain you for a little bit of time. If you're not able to take a gun into your workplace, and I know there are people that will say, well, if you work in a place to where you can't take a gun, you should quit and go get another job. Well, come on. I mean, people like their jobs. Some people make a lot of money at their jobs, and they're not going to say, well, I'm going to give up my, really nice job here, or I'm not going to take the chance of losing my job if they find me with a gun, to go find a job someplace else that's a lot less. So let's don't even deal with that. Let's just realize that people have reasons for doing what they're doing, and they're good reasons to them. We may not all disagree, but that's what makes the world go round, right? So get to your car if you can do so safely, and that's why you should have your car close to you. If you don't have all your stuff in your office, get down to your car, get that bag out with the stuff I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, with your gun in it, and get back to your office. And just, kind of hold up there where you've got other people around you. The worst thing that you can do in a case like this is to go out by yourself and trying to hoof it home, okay? It doesn't matter who you are, especially women. You don't want to be out there alone, but not just women, men too. Like I said, the city is full of predators, and they're looking for somebody alone, okay, that they can go have fun with or rob or whatever, And you don't want to be that person that's out there alone unless you're an apex predator yourself. Okay, in which case, if you are, I'm going to make another one put it on, I think I'm just going to put it on Patreon, about the difference between being a gray man and being an adaptive. And it's an important distinction. And I'm going to use probably some examples from my old life So I think that's probably why I'll put it just over on Patreon. We'll see. My nose is starting to run. It's cold out here. But anyway, you don't want to be leaving by yourself. Get your card, get your stuff, get back up to the office, and then just kind of listen, see what everybody's planning to do. Probably one of the best things to do is to hold up there overnight, because a nighttime of rioting or a nighttime of confusion, it absorbs a lot of energy. Okay, a lot of the first craziness is going to happen the first night. Things will start to even out a little bit or to simmer down the next morning. Excuse me for wiping like this. The next morning, because people, when they find themselves in a crazy situation, they're going to be out there acting up all over the place all night long. And guess what? Fools, criminals, and a lot of nighttime predators do during the daytime. They sleep it off, right? Okay. So staying put in your office, in your place of work, wherever during the first night is usually a good idea, and then get to talking to the people in your office. What are they going to do? Who's ready to try to make it home, and where do they live? Now, this might be a place where I might stick in what you might want with you. Okay. And you should keep this in your car all the time, but with the things we have coming up here, this is an excellent time to kind of tighten this up. Make sure you do have it. Now, for those of you who have a JIC bag, a pretty decent go bag, get home bag, and all that, you probably got all this stuff anyway. If you don't, doesn't matter. Take a big shopping bag, and put some stuff in it. Put some good walking shoes in it. Put some good heavy hardcore clothing in it. You don't want to be trying to walk home, in your office attire. First off, it gives you a way of being a mark, being a piece of prey. And secondly, they don't do well when you're out there essentially going to be living in the wild for a few days. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine about this. His wife works downtown, and I said, it could take her 4 or 5 days to walk home. And he was surprised at that. He said, well, I could walk that in a day, in a few hours. Yeah, you could if you don't have to worry about anything, if you were just out there walking. And most people don't walk very much. The average person, if you go out to tell them to walk 20 miles, well, they'd probably think they could do it. And after about 5 miles, they're going to start doubting it. And after about 10 miles, they're going to say, it's time for plan B, right? Well, hoofing at 20 miles is not normal in most people's lives. It might be time to go out there and start walking if you don't already, right? So anyway, it's going to take you a number of days probably to get home, because it's not just going to be strolling down the highway. Okay, you're going to have to pay attention to what's going on. You may have to hide. You may have to walk at night. Because you don't know what's going on around you. When you've got big crowds coming down the highways, when you look up and a hillside is on fire, not because it's a forest fire, but because riots are burning it, and you hear, I tell you, there is a certain sound to an area of town where the people are going crazy and hollering and shooting and burning and yelling and screaming. And that's not something that you're just going to stroll through, okay? You're going to find yourself trying to go alternative routes, going down hillsides, going across railroad tracks, going behind buildings, going through trees, you would be surprised at the number of obstacles you will find going through a city. And you're not going to go through it fast. You better go through it careful if you're going to get home. So you want some good shoes. You want some good rough clothes. In that bag, hopefully you've got a gun. That is one of the most important things to have. 2 guns is better. I did one, I think, over on Patreon, why I carry 2 guns. And just to stick it in here, say that, and it's backing up here, when you get people in your office and say, okay, I guess it's time to try to go home, where does everybody live? You're going to find out people live in all sorts of different directions, right? So you want to get with some of those, hopefully, that you're going to be able to stay with. They're going in the same direction as you get out of the central city. And when you get out beyond that, maybe you all are going different directions, but at least being with a group of people while you're trying to get out of the city is a lot better than doing it by yourself or just with one person. And here's where the multiple guns comes in. There's going to be a lot of people in these offices that don't have guns, right? Well, if you've got a gun and a reload, then you've got a gun and a reload. But if you've got two guns, you've got a gun for you and you've got a gun for your friend, right? And I'd rather have a friend with a gun than me with a bunch of reloads. That's why I carry, and I talk about that over on Patreon. Okay, so also in this bag, you want those things that will help you survive. And the first is some food. Now people say, well, you can go for, several days without food, and that shouldn't be your primary concern. Well, yeah, yes, it is, because you go for a while without eating, and you're not going to be operating as well as you could. So I always, throw in a whole bunch of protein bars. Throw in some, whatever, something that's light. I don't care if it's snack crackers. Well, yeah, that's not good. The more protein, the better, So I carry a lot of protein. I carry a lot of trail mix, things like that, because you don't want to just keep yourself going. You want to have something for your friends if they're going out with you. Here, guys, I know things are getting tough and everybody's afraid, and people are, starting to have some emotional problems because they're not used to this. Here, have a good Met-Rx Cookie Crunch protein bar. That'll make you feel better, and yes, it will. Have water. You should always have a case or two of water in your car, even in normal times. Load up on the water. Make sure that everybody going with you has got some water. That's another thing. You should have a way to purify water also. If you hear some hissing back there, it's my neighbor blowing out his sprinkler system for the fall. Again, a fall sound, right? What was I saying? Oh yeah, I have a way to purify water. You should carry, whatever water you can, but water's heavy. You're not going to be carrying a case of water home with you. You're going to take, however many bottles you can stick in your pockets and still feel like you're moving. You're going to have water to distribute to the other people there. Probably have some water even to people that are going other directions. Be the good neighbor and give them the water to help them get home. But you should also have something like a Sawyer. I recommend Sawyer. I know there are a lot of other water filters and purifications out there. I just like Sawyer. I think it's the best. Do your own research if you'd like. So water. You can go a while without water, but after a day of water, you're not going to be thinking as clearly. You're not going to be operating at the level that you need to. When you really need to be paying attention to what's going on around you and operating at as close to 100% as you can get. Also in this little bag, have some things to protect you from the elements. Throw in a ground sheet. It doesn't have to be fancy. Throw in a couple of 99-cent ponchos that you get at the Dollar Tree or Academy. Keep several in your car for other people as well, because you want the people that are with you to be in as good a shape as you can get them, because you're relying on them to be part of your solution getting home. So as you put together these bags and things, put things in cars, think about that. Think about sleeping at night, okay? If it happened this time of year out here, it is going to be cold at night. Now, I'm not saying you got to, carry a bunch of bedrolls, but you can. Well, how are you? Hang on half a second. I'm going to pause you. Okay, I'm back. See if a neighbor came over and wanted to talk for a minute, say hi, and ask how I thought we could save the country, and I explained to her that I don't think we can. so anyway, probably make another one on that here soon. Anyway, I think what I was saying was to prepare to be able to survive in some rough elements on your multi-day trip home, and that means have some good, good walking shoes, some good warm clothing. You don't need to take a bedroll and everything like that, but have something. Have some good. First off, good clothing, warm clothing. Realize that sleeping outside as you're trying to get home is no fun. Um, especially when you're scared and half, sleep deprived and don't know what's going on around you, and you hear screaming in the dark, and you want to be able to be as comfortable as you can in that situation. So some ponchos in case it rains. You can get everything from the cheap stuff to the better stuff. You want to put a rain suit in your car, nothing wrong with that. Some space blankets. We always carry those everywhere we are. A good light source. Make sure that you've got good flashlights. You're going to use those judiciously, because a flashlight in the dark tells everybody where you are, but you're going to need to be able to see and use your own discretion on that. In a rioting city, in a collapsing city, you sometimes see by the firelight. But just put everything in it and put it in a big bag and put it in your car, and realize the most important thing is, like I say, resourcefulness instead of resources. Have the resources that you need. Have the basics that you need to be able to survive for several days. And realize that the city is more dangerous. I know a lot of people say, I'd never live in the city because, how dangerous it is. But even most of those people don't have any idea how dangerous a city can really be. I'll use an example. Back in the Republican National Convention in 1976 was in Kansas City, and I worked that. My team and I were working the RNC headquarters downtown Kansas City, and it was Reagan was staying there and all. At the time, it was before Kansas City had gone through a lot of urban renewal, and along some place called West 12th Street were all the strip joints, right across from the hotel. And of course, for something like that, they bring in law enforcement from all over the place. The place looked like a police convention all over the place, because you need the security. And they brought in a lot of the state troopers. Now, the state troopers are great guys, and they are fine guys. They are courageous people out there on the highways all the time by themselves, doing stuff with no backup. They're tough guys. But when they found themselves in the city, it was a different world, and they were being surprised all the time, even though they were law enforcement, because it's simply a different environment. So realize that. Stay smart, be aware, know what's coming, listen to your gut. If it seems like it's time to get right then. Be one of the first out, because you don't want to be going out in the pack. Be one of the first out if you can in your car. If you don't get out in time, don't go out alone. Stay with a group, form a group, become part of a group, okay? Safety in numbers. And then be prepared to live like an animal, because animals know how to survive. You know why animals survive? Because they're scared of everything around them. Unless they are the apex predator, they're the ones to kill and eat them. And if you're trying to get out of the city, that's you. There's a lot of things out there wanting to kill and eat you. And be able to survive for a few days, and figure it's going to take you a few days to get home. Also, I would suggest that you talk to your family at home and let them know, if this happens, here's what I'm going to be doing. And also tell them, you people that are out there in the suburbs, don't go looking for your loved ones. You won't find them, okay? It'd be such a mess. You think you're going to go down there and find them, unless you've made a deal with them that they're going to stay right in their office or right in their place of work. You're not going to find them, because you won't know which way they're coming, because even they don't know what way they're coming, because the situation is going to dictate that. It's going to dictate all sorts of alternatives and changes in plans. So anyway, that's just kind of the basics on surviving, getting out of the city. You're going to survive if you're determined to survive, if you're prepared to survive, and you are determined that you're not going to die on the way, and you are prepared to do whatever it takes to survive and get through that and get home. And whatever it takes in a city is a lot different than whatever it takes someplace else. So become the animal and get out. Best luck to all of you. I hope this doesn't happen in our country coming up, but it sure could at any time. Throw together a bag for yourself. If you don't have one, you should have one anyway, even if you're not in the central city. Wouldn't hurt to start kind of down this road if you haven't yet, and keep some stuff in your car just in case it takes you a couple days to get home from wherever you are. With that, I'll let you go. I'm going back out to hang more Christmas lights with Aiden. And remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And there's nothing more important than those first few days in a world of chaos, being able to survive those to enable you to live well tomorrow. Okay. So you all have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.